cloud is important at the moment. So I cover 36 countries in the region, and whenever I met to customers, I see they are growing with the data. A lot of data they started generate, a lot of data they started collecting. The problem here is not the storage, but the processing of this data. So I know a lot of web companies, they started deleting their data. They don't analyze all the data they log from the websites. So the computational power is very important, and the cloud is the solution for us to generate or to use all that data or to enable all that computational power, okay? The third piece is the analytics and the artificial intelligence. When we look at the artificial intelligence, with the power of the cloud, the processing power of the cloud, we can run the models much more frequently and much faster. So if you look at Microsoft Cloud at the moment, Azure, all our analytics servers are basically supported by GPUs. So it's not CPU processing anymore, it's GPU processing, and the FPGAs are coming, so custom FPGAs for analytics processing. So machine learning is basically pattern identification, right? Behind the scenes. So previously, if we look at this history of machine learning, the data mining area and all that stuff, most companies were doing that, but it was in a batch mode. You know, you run your algorithms, you try to identify new patterns every month and try to implement it with the new data every week if possible. Right now, we are doing it in real time, okay? While somebody is talking over the phone, we can just predict the churn probability of that customer in real time while you are talking. This was not possible before, okay? So these are the three trends right now that we see in the market. So of course, we have blockchain as well. So with these three major trends, the industry is going through a digital transformation. Almost every company is going through a digital transformation. And if you look at the digital transformation for Microsoft, we basically manage it in three areas. More personal computing, intelligent cloud platform, and reinvent productivity and business processes. And that's where the blockchain is for us, okay? So have you seen this slide before? Yeah? You have seen, right? So I think, yeah, the biggest thing here is the blockchain environment is shared and secure. How many of you know the difference between cryptography and encryption? Okay. So the most important thing here is it's cryptography. It's not encrypted. Okay. So in the encryption area, you know, you have a vector and the key, so you can decrypt. But in this version, you cannot decrypt. It's hash, basically. Right? So it's a hash algorithm. So if you are using with the, or implementing a blockchain, you need to a little bit, you know, try to figure out, you know, what is the difference between the cryptography and the encryption here. So I'm going to go and try to see where we are in the blockchain implementation. So this is an analysis that Microsoft has done. This is very interesting. So if you look at from the bottom up, so you are going to see the maturity levels of our customers that we had a kind of a blockchain conversation. So if you look at most of our customers don't even know or don't even try what blockchain is. Okay? And this is the majority of our customers, 80%. 80% of the people or the customers don't have any blockchain implementation. They don't know the scenarios they can use it. So they don't have an understanding of blockchain. They just heard, most probably Bitcoin, you know, and then they're just trying to seek what they can do with it. If you go to level 2 of the maturity level, just 15% still, they have identified potential scenarios. You know, somebody most probably in the organization came with an idea or heard blockchain say, hey, why don't we use it here? You know, most probably this is the case, okay? This is not really a company approach, you know, attitude. So it's mostly somebody in the IT or business, you know, a guy who is interested in the new technologies said, hey, there is something called blockchain. Let's think about it, okay? And there are a lot of people right now in these two levels. So if you look at this crowd here and the crowd yesterday, we are far ahead of the community, of the outside of here, okay? So we are actually working here to implement the blockchain in one way or the other. If you go up to level 3, okay, these are just 4%, and the level 4, 1%, total 5%. They know what they are going to do with blockchain. So these are the companies looking for POCs, a roadmap, how to implement a solution. So this means that, you know, you can really have a huge potential here with 95% of the potential customers trying to look for what blockchain is, how to implement it in the industry. How many of you know the use cases for industries for blockchain? A lot. So I think this is important. This is one of the areas that I think you need to focus. What are the areas? It's not just the technical implementation, because at the end, businesses should get value out of it, right? So you need to a little bit understand and deep dive to see what are the use cases in the different industries, so you can go and implement the blockchain for those companies, or come up with an idea and go to those companies and, you know, present your skills there. You can do this, this, this. This is the value for your customer, for you and for your customers. So let's do it. Okay. So we shouldn't leave it here and take it to one step further. So this is the evolution. Most probably you have seen this slide as well. So I'm gonna go quickly there. So we are, as Microsoft here in the blockchain 3.0, doing a lot of new stuff with the technology called cryptlets, but mostly known as the smart contracts. So if you want to look at the architecture, for high-level architecture, I think we need to look at the core, the ledger. Okay, that's the core of the blockchain. Do you agree? Okay, so it's the most important part. If we go a step back and look at it from another perspective, so we have the activities pre-ledger and post-ledger, right? So if we go one step further, so you need to do a little bit of more understanding around source systems, how to get this data, how to process it, how to integrate it with the other systems in the organization, and then how to analyze this, how to integrate these services, how to deliver this information to the business users. So this is the other step. And if I want to go a little bit more, this is what you will face with. Okay? So a lot of services, a lot of different components, a lot of small tools. It's not just implementing the ledger, the blockchain, all that stuff, sharing the information, but it's more around providing an end-to-end solution for the customers. So if you look at from the left-hand side, so here are the source systems, the possible ones. Then how to integrate this data with the others. Then where to store and how to pre-process it. And then post-processing, and then delivering the results out. Okay? So the ledger is the core, but is a small part of the end-to-end implementation. So we need to keep this in mind, because this is what an end customer will look for. Okay? So whatever we implement around it, we need to have an understanding of the big picture. So what do we have in Microsoft? Okay. So All these services basically are branded under a names we say Cortana Intelligence Suite. Okay? So if you look at it, this is a set of services in Microsoft Azure totally integrated to each other. And the design of these services is basically to enable our customers to build a end-to-end data platform. Whether it's related to blockchain or not, or blockchain and other source systems, but how to really enable the analytics capabilities with data storage together. So for us, blockchain, for the analytics guys, is our data source. And there are other data sources, apps, sensors, and devices. And the information management part is basically the area where we generally spend most of our time. The reason is, in most companies, if you go there, try to implement a big data warehousing solution. How many of you tried that? Data warehousing? What is the biggest challenge? Sorry? Yes, other one? Structure. Third? Integration and flexibility, right? So if you go to a bank, how many source systems are you going to find? Right? So the biggest challenge in the business organizations is to come up with a single definition. The biggest question you can ask them is, what is the customer? Who is your customer? If you go and ask this question to the retail banking, you will get another answer. If you go and ask it to a CRM group, then you will get another answer. And the corporate banking will give you another answer. Okay? So there is no corporate definition. If there is no corporate definition, this means that the source systems that they are using are designed differently. If they are designed differently, how you can come up with an integrated solution, right? And now we see the blockchain as another part of it, where you have a lot of information, the data is secured and distributed. So this is also a challenge. So the information management and the data integration is the most challenging part of these solutions. So you need to come up with the same customer IDs with the business-driven data hierarchy to analyze the data. And we have solutions for that. The data factory is a kind of an ETL tool in the cloud offered as a platform, as a service offering. Okay, so it's web-based, it's managed by Microsoft. Data catalog is another area where you can do a kind of master data management. And event hubs is another area where we can listen different source systems, like sensors or devices or blockchain, to get the streaming data in and analyze it. Okay? So big data stores, when we generally talk about big data, right now we have the data lake as the buzzword. So data lake and the SQL data warehouse. One of them is the unstructured part. The data lake is, and the SQL data warehouse is the structured part of it. And machine learning analytics, I'm going to go to the details of machine learning data lake store and stream analytics as well. So those are the areas where you can start analyzing the incoming data. And intelligence is basically, we deliver it through Power BI or bot framework, bot intelligence, conversations platforms. So this is some of the names of the services we provide for the big data and advanced analytics solutions. When we look at big data and blockchain together, so I spent a lot of time doing this. So investing into big data solutions are in a common trend right now. So when I started talking about big data 5 years ago, it's mostly the case that you got a customer and they say, hey, we do big data. In general, they do nothing. They just try to create the cluster. If they can be successful. This was what they called big data. Now, if you look at it, I see customers really moving their structured data warehousing into big data platforms, especially Spark. Spark is moving very quickly in the market and doing a lot of stuff. So one of the problems that we see is companies are having problems with security and manageability. So when I look at blockchain and big data, I think blockchain will help to big data implementations to really reduce this gap. Security and distribution of the data, how we share the data with different platforms, and how to integrate it with third-party tools. So it's not either or, but it's mostly complementation of each other. So they complement each other. Okay? So in the morning session, you have seen this slide. So I want to refer to this slide, because this is just a subset of the services that you have seen in the previous slide deck, So the blockchain services or the transactions coming from the source system through event hubs, and then stream analytics and Azure machine learning, and then goes to Power BI for reporting purposes. So this is a high-level architecture, okay? And you can do a lot of different things. So here we have the API layer. Okay, this API could be any application, any web service, anything. And we basically want to listen those APIs through the event hubs and analyze the data. So when we say event hubs, okay, so what is it? So in today's business, the biggest challenge is to manage all those incoming transactions. Okay? I met with a lot of customers. They say, okay, we are building our IoT platform. When they think about IoT platform, 90% of them is just thinking about how to store the data. Storing the data is not the problem. Handling the incoming transactions is the problem in the IoT business. And it's similar in other areas. You know, a lot of transactions happening, and to handle all those millions of transactions coming in a second with a scalable way, you need a special implementation. And Event Hubs is that implementation that we provide in the cloud as a service. So if you go to Azure portal, you're going to see in the messaging area, you're going to see the Event Hubs, so you can just deploy it, you can scale it out, so you can handle millions of transactions per second coming from different devices. Okay? So these messages coming there is just messages. You need to process them. Okay? And the processing engine is the stream analytics service. This is another PaaS offering. So it can read from event hubs or blob storage. It can also read from IoT hub. But here, the stream analytics is the platform for you to read the messages coming into event hubs. So event hubs is the gateway, handling all those millions of transactions in, accepting those. And then stream analytics is the area where you can start analyzing it. So the most important thing with this streaming data is how to correlate multiple streams. Okay? So stream analytics helps you to correlate multiple streams of data for a certain period of time. So you can say that I'm going to collect the information for last 30 minutes, 1 hour, and correlate two different streams of data coming into the system, join them, and if this is over a specific threshold, I'm going to take an action. Okay? So it's not just the real-time data coming in, but the sequence of the data is coming into the system for a certain period of time, so you can monitor all these transactions back. So you can say that if this happened in the last 30 minutes, this might be an indication to the fraud. So I'm going to send it to Azure Machine Learning and get the probability of this transaction being a fraud. So this is stream analytics, and it's very similar to a standard query language, SQL language. So you just write like a SQL and then join multiple streams of data. This also enables you to populate the output, okay? To push the messages into multiple outputs at the same time. So you can put it into a Power BI dashboard in real time, so you can see the figures coming into the system. You can push it into another event hubs. You can push it into notification systems, so you can send email, SMS to the customers if something that you detected there, okay? So multiple inputs and multiple outputs. The other one is Azure Data Lake. So data lake is a big buzzword right now. So the idea is basically to manage or to store different types of data. So when we say different types of data, we are talking about videos, images, logs, structured data, or different structures of the data. So the difference between Azure Data Lake and a standard Hadoop implementation is in Azure Data Lake, we provide you unlimited storage. Okay, so you don't have any storage limitations. It's designed on the Hadoop file system, HDFS clusters, and it's the high-speed disk infrastructure we provide behind the scenes. And on top of it, if you want to analyze the data there, we have different options like Azure Data Lake Analytics. It's supported by a language called USQL, Unified SQL, which enables you to join the data from a log file to a structured database, and then you analyze these data together. It's mostly batch, it's not real time. And you can also use this storage as a platform for a Hadoop cluster, so you can run Hive or MapReduce on top of it, or Spark or R for analytics and machine learning. Okay? So the data lake analytics is basically designed to enable you to analyze different file formats, okay, in read one, and then to join those different file formats that you read in another way. So this enables all this information coming together from blockchain, from CRM systems, from financial systems, so you can read them and join them. But this is mostly batch. Okay? So the analytics part. How many of you have seen Azure Machine Learning? Good. You know, 3, 4. Good. So if you haven't tried, you should. This is designed for regular people. Okay, even I can do it. I can go and build a model there, you know, whatever the model is. So it's a web-based design. You can go to studio.azureml.net, okay, and you are gonna see a login page. The initial login is free. You can go and log in there for free, upload your data, and build your model. It's a drag and drop functionality that you have. It's supported by a lot of analytical functions, pre-built functions like regression functions or classification functions, anomaly detection functions that we use for fraud identification as well. And it also supports Python or R kind of open source development. So you can put your open source code there, you can run it as a part of the model, and you can also use the pre-packaged solutions there. This is very important. Why? Because we are trying to bring the analytics capabilities into a normal people use. Okay? It doesn't need to be for, people who just need how to write a code. So analytics and development are two different things. Analytics are mostly related to business. Development is more IT kind of stuff. Okay? So if you want to do analytics, you need to have a business understanding, what to achieve. What is the end goal? What is the definition of the business problem so that you can collect the necessary data for analytics and run it. So With this tool, with these prepackaged models here, we bring the drag and drop capability for the business analysts to build the solution in the cloud. Okay? And then you can easily integrate these models, evaluate them, and then you can deploy them as a web service. Okay? If you have seen our CEO talking about artificial intelligence and the analytics, one of the things that we mention as Microsoft is the democratization of AI. Okay? So what we mean with that is each and every application you develop should be supported by artificial intelligence. How we can enable this? Okay? Previously, this was not possible because the processing power was not there. But now with the support of the cloud, we have the necessary processing power. So what we do is basically very simple. Whatever the model you build, you can deploy it as an API. You can deploy it as a web service by one click. Then it becomes accessible from any application. So stream analytics. If you are using stream analytics for the incoming transactions, reading millions of transactions at a time, you can immediately call Azure Machine Learning API and see if this is a fraudulent transaction or not. What's the probability of this being a fraudulent transaction? Or you can just immediately segment a customer. You can look at the history of the customer and look at the chain. All these kind of things are possible right now. So we are bringing the analytics features and functions into real life. Okay? This is not just with machine learning in the cloud, but also on premises. So we have R in SQL Server. We have R as a standalone system for Spark and Hadoop. So you can build your R models, deploy them to run in either SQL Server or Spark or Hadoop platforms, and then you can deploy them as a web service in your data center. And then any application that you build can call those web APIs from your data center and integrate it with the application, with the data that you generate from the application. So this is a kind of capability to really make all the applications smarter and all the people using those applications to gain more insight from the data that you collect. Okay. So this is the Excel example. This is a kind of prediction that I was doing. So we have an add-on on Excel. So if you look at most of the customers are using Excel. So when I was doing data warehousing, so I have seen a customer came back to me saying that, hey, we have a problem with the reporting. I said, okay, what's the problem? The problem was people was getting a report, a normal report with lots of records there, thousands of records, and then export it into Excel. So I said, why do you use the reporting tool to export into Excel? So it doesn't make sense. If you want to do that, you should be integrating it. And we have integrated Azure Machine Learning into Excel. So you can see those web services here, you deployed the models, and then you basically can click on those and put your data in and click predict to basically get the analytics into Excel. The prediction into Excel with the data that you put. So this is a kind of analysis that you can easily do. If you go to Azure Machine Learning Studio, you're going to find a lot of samples around this. We have hundreds of different templates we already built and published there. So you can see how to do a credit card fraud. You can see how to do predictive maintenance, how to do customer segmentation with some samples. And you can build your own as well. Where can we use artificial intelligence in the blockchain environment? Pattern detection. This is one of the key things, right? We already do that with the normal business transactions, but I think this is one of the areas with the blockchain implementation where you can use analytics. What kind of patterns are happening? So we are doing transactions, and those transactions are in a chain. But those chains can identify a pattern which you had never seen before. And this pattern can be lead into a fraudulent transaction. This pattern can lead into optimization of the processes. Okay? Looking at the patterns, you can identify, hey, okay, what's going on there? You can look and reduce some of the processes or increase the security and look at what's happening. So there's a chain of the events, and all these events are related to each other. So you can analyze easily how this is happening and how to analyze these, optimize these processes. Okay? This can be anything. It doesn't need to be blockchain only. It can be anything that you can do. So right now, my team is working in a steel manufacturing company, and they are optimizing the ingredients of steel manufacturing. How much oxygen should go in a certain temperature, okay? How much iron you should put into the system to optimize the quality of a specific steel manufacturing process. You can still do risk calculations, right? You can see the overall picture, all the transactions, and you can easily identify the anomalies, and then those anomalies can lead you into a risk area, a fraudulent transaction. And you can also look at the overall picture and identify where all the data comes from and what kind of risks it can handle. And security as well, and personalization. Okay? When we go to the personalization, I want to a little bit use this smart contract thing in the blockchain environment. How can we really make all these smart contracts more personalized? This comes from the data. So if we are doing transactions, all of us, right? We have different requirements. We have different ideas. So you can easily optimize and personalize those smart contracts. It becomes an intelligent contract because most probably the terms, the conditions, the rates should be personalized for individually, so you can create individually smart contracts by looking at the data that you collect and analyzing them. Okay? So these are few areas that with the blockchain environment you can use analytics. And this is not really so different than the traditional analytics that we implement at the moment. Okay. How much time do we have? Okay, now how much? Okay, I have 20 minutes more. So I want to go a little bit with the industry examples. So this is what I said important. So when we look at the analytics implementation, we generally, big data and analytics, we see them in the 4 areas, okay? It's engaging customers to understand the customers better, engaging them to deliver information back to them, empowering employees, how we can deliver the, or share the company information with the employees, optimize operations, this is one of the key areas, and also transform the services. If you look at these, we have a lot of different areas, okay, where we can use big data and advanced analytics. So healthcare is one of them. If you look at the optimized operations, insurance claim processing is another one. These are all related to blockchain as well. So we have seen that insurance automation is one of the biggest areas in the industry for blockchain, but it's also the biggest area for analytics. I just met with 2 different insurance companies yesterday to forecast the average claim rate for next month, okay? Because they want to optimize the contracts that they have with the customers. So these are some of the areas. Here, for example, is in the healthcare, patient profile, data security, and also how to analyze the X-rays, okay? Is another part of it. So if you can analyze X-rays or MR outcomes of the customers, then you can easily identify the potential treatments or potential prescriptions that you can put into the blockchain and then share all this information with the other parties. So here is the healthcare, okay? So how does healthcare works? How is it integrated in Ukraine? It's not different in any other area. So if you look at it, you know, together with the insurance, it's quite complicated, right? So that's why I want to understand the blockchain from the industry-wise. It's not just the technology. It's the technology that enables a lot of different new ways of working together. Okay? If you go to a hospital, if you go to a doctor, if you have an insurance, how does this work behind the scenes? Okay? How can you get a new policy? How can you get a new contract? How can you customize and personalize those contracts for you in the insurance, looking at the data that you get from the treatments and the prescriptions in the hospital? Okay? So there's a lot to use basically in the blockchain environment. All these contracts, all these treatments, all these prescriptions can go into the blockchain together with analytics. So I can know what kind of diseases you are going to get in the future. If I know that by looking at all these treatments, prescriptions, and the doctors you have seen in the blockchain environment, this is a tremendous value. We can prevent you having that disease, right? So this is huge. But this data needs to be shared. This data needs to be secured. And this data needs to be analyzed. So the blockchain, big data environment, and the analytics actually brings all these capabilities together. You can share the data between the hospitals, between the insurance companies, right, with the blockchain environment. We can put them into big data platforms with all the X-ray analysis, with all the MR analysis, and then we can come up with the probability of having a disease. So this is big. So that's why you need to look at the big picture and the industry examples, how to use it. Media. This is another one. How do you buy a movie today? Right? How do you buy a song? Or you don't buy it, you just download it, right? You know, that's how it works. But is it legal? It's not. So there's a legal part of it, right? All these processes can be implemented in the blockchain environment with smart contracts, with personalized contracts, and all that stuff. And if you look at it, from the singers, artists, songwriters, from the distribution companies, from the buyers, from the retail stores. So a lot of photos, not mine, unfortunately, you know. Okay. So you can all implement this with the smart contracts. And you can come up with the price predictions. You can come up with when to publish a certain song, when to publish a certain album or movie. You can analyze all this environment using all these data behind the scenes, right? So shipping. This is the trade is a big, big one. I'm going to skip it so quickly. You cannot see it. I'm going back, okay? So blockchain is a big thing in the trade, especially in the international trade, export and import. Okay? Okay? Good. Going next. So if you look at it a little bit with, I cannot. Okay. So, how it happens? We have the importer and exporter, right? So we have an agreement in between. And then this goes to a smart contract created. So if you look at it, there's an issuing bank of letter of credit. Okay? So we have the credit. And this goes through the validation in the blockchain environment. Here it is. So we have the advisor bank, issuing bank, and they have a consensus here. They validate it. Okay, the validation process works, and then say, hey, okay, this is a good one. Let's put it into the blockchain ledger. It goes there. So this is the first step. And then we have the advisor bank who receives the letter of credit. They also need to look at it. They notifies the exporter saying that, hey, we received this letter of credit. Okay? So the message goes there for the letter of credit. And then the shipping company, so they agree. So the letter of credit created, the exporter imported, hey, they say okay. And then there's the shipping part. So the goods needs to be shipped. The package is there. Okay, it's handed over to the shipping company. And bill of landing from the shipping company needs to be processed and agreed. It goes to the ledger. Okay? And it again goes to the mining process. You get the consensus. It works. And you get the green. And then the bill of landing goes into the document. So the ship goes to the port. And there is customs. So you need to have this custom certification from the port going into the system. And it's the clearing done. And now from the port it goes to the importer. Right? So all these processes is a chain. And you can implement it in the blockchain environment. So the package delivered message also comes into the ledger. But this is also the process optimization, right? The smart contracts needs to be maybe created on the way with specific terms and conditions for between those importers. So you can look at all the trade between those two companies and come up with an intelligent document created. So the payment is actually done after you give the product to the importer. So if you look at this process end to end, this is a good example of how you can use blockchain. And there are a lot of areas that, as you can see, you can implement intelligence in that. Okay? There's something wrong here, this specific place. Okay, IoT. How many of you know IoT? You all know IoT, right? Internet of Things. How many of you tried to implement anything with IoT? Wow. What did you do? Uh-huh. So I'm going to give you an example. We are working with Rolls-Royce. You know what is specific with Rolls-Royce? Rolls-Royce is the biggest plane engine manufacturer in the world. So we monitor the plane engines. And we also work with ThyssenKrupp. You can go and look at the YouTube videos. We monitor the elevators for predictive maintenance. So you can see when there will be a specific problem or a problem in a specific part of the plane engine or in the elevator, so you can optimize this process. But, so let's talk about a little bit IoT. So if you look at the world that we are living in a very interesting world right now. So how many devices are there per person here in Ukraine? I think in Turkey we have 2.3 devices per person. Okay, this is without mostly the sensors and the wearables. This is mostly the tablets, the PCs, the mobile phones. So when we start getting more and more sensors and the wearables, when we say wearables, it's think about these watches that starts communicating with the internet. When we start thinking about smart appliances, that your refrigerator sends messages. So you can see pet monitors, you can see sports sensors. There are a lot coming into our daily life. Do you agree? Okay. Good. So this means that you are connected. So all the time. So people can track you, what you are doing, how good you sleep, how much you walk, okay, how much you travel. Is this new? No, not really, right? So even before 2005, there was a way of monitoring those. Today we have more, and beyond 2025, we are predicting a much bigger integration actually. So right now that integration started. So previously, all the companies has their own monitoring system. Think about the case that if you have a refrigerator from one appliance manufacturer and an oven from another one, so previously they monitor one way or the other your system or your mobile phones. Now it's going into more integrated way. Okay, so these are going to talk to each other. These are going to talk to each other not by themselves, but with the IoT platform. So we can analyze different things in your house, in your car, in your daily life, and enrich them with additional information and deliver necessary input to you. Okay? This is where we are going. Where the blockchain here is. Who can guess where the blockchain is? Huh? All those devices, small things, you have a MacBook here. How many pieces are there in it? A lot, right? How can you make sure that it's not hacked? A specific piece. Because it's MacBook, maybe. You cannot, right? This is the biggest problem. So all those devices and sensors, if there is a change in one of those sensors, you cannot really figure them out. And blockchain basically enables you to do that. Because you can put their IDs into the blockchain environment, and if there is anything changes in the middle, okay, the hash value of the others, the output changes, and they're not going to go through validation. You know, the block is working like that, right? You know, the previous and the, so if one is changing, the previous doesn't, the next one doesn't go through the validation, and it fails. So you can easily understand if a specific sensor or the device that is sending messages is hacked or not. This is a big thing in the IoT environment. And this is the area where you can utilize blockchain heavily. So yeah. Skip this. So blockchain in the Internet of Things use cases. So there are a lot. Again, from transportation, appliances, log and maintenance, smart vending machines, packages, drones, and machinery maintenance, right? So there are a lot of areas. If you think about the vending machines, you know what we are doing with those vending machines is very interesting. If there's a vending machine, there are goods in it, right? So we can recognize what brand they are by using cognitive services. So we have image recognition, and within the image recognition, we can capture the image and the text. So we can easily identify which brand is missing there. And using the blockchain, you can look at all the pieces of these of the vending machine and analyze if anything's changed. So this is a quite big area for IoT as well. So you need to think about it, all these use cases. The reason I wanted to share these with you is to understand basically how to enable the blockchain technology in different industries. Okay? How to look at the big picture. It's not just the blockchain, ledger, security, cryptography. It's not the case. It's bigger. It has a bigger impact. And how to really turn the technical expertise you have right now, or the expertise you gain right now, into a real life use cases. So, thank you. Any questions? Presentation? I think we can, right? I don't know. Okay, good. Other questions? It's not there yet. I don't know. I don't know. You know, we generally look at the market, right? You know, if you look at the market, we have a huge developer or group on Python and R. We also want to basically reduce the effort to deploy machine learning capabilities by the users. So we are integrating Python and R, basically supporting those communities, and Python and R is also coming into SQL Server. Okay, so you can do in database analytics with the on-prem implementations, or in the cloud with the virtual machines. So the idea there is how we can support the biggest community and make it easy for the people to deploy machine learning capabilities. Okay. Other questions? Machine learning. So machine learning has a free version. It supports a certain amount of data. The problem there is you can build your model, you can deploy it. Okay? The problem there is if you want to make it production, you cannot do it on the free version. Okay? But you can build your model there. The idea is, you know, for the development, we basically limit the processing power, the cores, and the performance there. Okay, that if we give it everything to you, it's not possible. To move it into production, you need to move into a paid subscription in order to use all the processing power with GPUs and everything behind the scenes. Because we expect, you know, thousands of transactions. I right now have a customer in Greece. Basically what they do is they built everything, they tested everything on the free version. Just before going into the production, they moved into their subscription. And this is a huge value. You don't have any upfront cost to see if whatever you are going to do will provide you value or not. You don't pay anything for that. Actually, this is the value of the cloud implementations. Okay. Other questions? Good, thank you. So if you're interested in, I come to Ukraine almost every month, so you can call me, and you know, I will be happy meeting you.